people ask me if I would show them how I make the clay. So we're on an angle here. Look at, ooh. Anyway, toilet paper, regular all-purpose flour, a cup. We have drywall compound, which is Proform from Walmart. Elmer's glue. Baby oil. Any scent you'd like. So we're going to do a cup of the drywall compound, 3/4 a cup of the Elmer's glue, and 2 tablespoons of baby oil, and a cup of all-purpose flour. So first thing you want to do, toilet paper. A big old bowl of water. Now it says you're supposed to use 1.5 cups of wet toilet paper. Now the way I do it is I just pretty much do the whole roll and use it as I need it. So we're going to empty this in here and then I'll show you what to do. Alright, so we have the toilet paper in hot water I like to use because it breaks it down quicker, I think. It burns your hands, but it still breaks it down quicker. And you know, you want to get it all mushy and make sure it's all soaked through. You're going to find that the water basically disappears. You want to let that sit for, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes, and that way you know for sure that you don't have any dry pieces left. I used Scott's Cheapy Cheap. It's like $1 a roll. I actually prefer to use the dollar store brand, the 4-pack, because one roll is perfect for the measurements of the drywall compound and the glue and the other ingredients. It's like, it fits perfect. It makes the perfect clay. Do I ever get to the dollar store? Usually not. And when I'm there, do I buy the toilet paper? No. No, I don't. So we're going to let this sit for about 15 minutes and then we'll play. So we let it soak for a while. See, it's absorbed a lot of the water. You're good to go. Now what I like to do is I like to break the toilet paper up a little bit more. So what I'll do is I'll throw it in my mixer. What an enjoyable sound. Oh no. Y'all saw that, right? This is how I roll. Anywho. I'm killing trees here, wasting paper products. So, I'm going to pop that down. We're going to turn it on really high, and it's going to splash everywhere and make a mess. If you have a splash guard, that's fine. It'll help you out. I don't care. This is my craft area. It can get dirty. So we're going to break that up. Make sure all the water is absorbed. You hear somebody yelling in the background. It's my boyfriend playing his game. So, alright, that's good enough. Pop it up. Now the fun part is, look, we don't even need this second bowl. The fun part is, this is where your arthritis is going to kick in. You gotta squeeze out all that water. And you squeeze and squeeze, and see, you squeeze some more and it's still coming out. And get it all out. It's supposed to be 25 grams dry, 75 grams wet. I stopped measuring a long time ago. I tried it. I didn't like it. So anyway, squeeze out this whole bowl. The thing I want to say is how much you squeeze out here is going to determine how wet and sticky your clay is, or how much flour you have to add, which I don't know if it does or doesn't harm the integrity of the clay. I like to try to use as little flour as possible. I mean, because it's a baked good. Who the hell wants to make clay with a baked good? So, they say you can also use cornstarch. I do sometimes use a little bit of cornstarch, but it does pretty much double your drying time if you use cornstarch. If you're making layers, you don't want to use cornstarch because it won't dry and it will rot from the inside out. Just like the salt dough clay that you make, it's not going to last forever. So get your water out. Squeeze it. Ask your man to squeeze it. Ask your kid to squeeze it. Put it in your dog's Kong. I don't care. Just get the water out. Alright, so we have all our water squeezed out, and we're going to put it in the mixer. I'm going to just give it a little break. Break it up. The mixer is going to do the rest. Just going to put it on low. And it will break it up. It just takes time, just like everything else. Oh, I sound like I'm struggling a little bit. There we go. I mean, you can sit here and do it by hand. You can do this whole dough by hand. It's just my hands say, no way, not gonna happen, not today. All right, so we're gonna let that break up, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so we got this all mixed up. Another way you could do this is with a blender, a magic bullet, a neutral bullet, anything like that. Anything that's gonna, a hand mixer. So we're gonna just dump that into there because we're gonna need this mixing bowl real quick. You're kind of gonna want one of these dedicated to making clay. You know, some people are a little funny. Elmer's glue, all that stuff is fine, but the joint compound does have chemicals in it. So if you're not confident in the fact that you're gonna like thoroughly like sanitize and wash this, then I would use dedicated utensils. So we have, look at this, you could use this as a fake snow. Alright, anyway, so we're gonna stick our joint compound. Can you see? I guess we could move this closer now. Alright, we're gonna stick our joint compound. You know, I have nothing more pet peevey than when I watch cooking videos and stuff like that, and the people don't scrape the bowls. It absolutely drives me crazy. I'm like, you went through all the trouble of measuring out those ingredients, and then you don't use them all. Like, you just, like, they do this, and then they, like, leave all that in there, and it drives me nuts. So, anyway, mix all this stuff in here. And this is going to be your liquid base. It's just like baking a cake. Alright, and then the baby oil. Get all that good stuff in there. I used Shower Fresh this time. I like lavender is my favorite baby oil because when you stick it in the oven, your house smells good. Alright, so pop that down. Give that a good mix. Now, okay, so we're done mixing it. Just a quick mix. Nothing big. Get down and get dirty. Dump this in another bowl. I know, you use a lot of dishes, but it's worth it. So we'll get this all out. Leave some in, that's fine, because you're going to be adding it back in anyway. This is just a tried and true method to make sure that your clay does not end up too wet, and then because we all know most people don't have an abundance of toilet paper in their house. Like me. So we want to do dry first and then add wet. And then we can get it the perfect consistency. So I'm going to stick that in there. I'm going to add about half a cup of flour. Give that a good mix. And then we're just going to start adding the wet. I'll put about half of it in for now. anything that pops out, throw it back in. See how it's coming into a dough. Now the key is to let it work for a little while, because that toilet paper is, the key is to let it work for a little while, because that toilet paper is going to soak up all your wet. So you might think you have the right consistency of dough now, or of clay now. Listen to me, dough. But you'll feel it, it'll feel a little gritty. That's because the toilet paper hasn't soaked up the glue and the drywall compound and the baby oil yet. So that grit is what, see, the more I work it, the smoother it's getting. So you got to put it in there and get it worked up a little bit. And then you're going to need to add a little bit more moisture. So let's see how much we have to add. I added about another quarter of a cup of moisture and my dough hook to make it easier on my machine. This is the part where you could add it just like you were making bread dough or something. You could add your dry and your wet, your dry and your wet, and knead it out by hand. But yeah, that's not going to happen over here. So let's keep going. I let it beat for about, it's been about 5 minutes now. And it's now starting to come together. I didn't add anything else. I just let it go, and you see it now. It's starting to come together as a dough. And I'm just going to let it keep beating and beating and beating until I get I want the consistency of an air dry clay that you buy at the store. I'm looking at it, and I'm saying it is a dough, but it's not. See how it's still, can we focus? Hello? Focus. Thank you. All right. So it's still, like, see how it's coming off of my fingers? I don't want that. So I'm going to add, literally like a pinch of flour at a time, because it'll go a long way. And the last thing you want is a clay that's too dry. You're just going to keep playing that game. Wet, dry, wet, dry. So, oh, I wanted to show you this. We have maybe like a quarter of a cup left. I will save that. I'll put it in one of these little nifty jars and save it for next time, because you never know. I might use too much toilet paper, and then, you know what I mean, I don't have to waste more mixture. All right, so we put the flour in. We're going to see what that does. And when I say we beat it forever, I mean we beat it forever. All right, let's see how it is now. Ah, look at that. Hold its shape nice. Can you see it? Nothing on the fingers. A little bit, but you were to expect it because I told you before. Water, water, water. Always work with water. So it's nice and smooth. I don't feel any fibers. Nice. It's perfect. So that did it. So we have about a fourth of a cup of flour left. And like I said, about a quarter of a cup of the mixture, and that's it. So now we have this wonderful, beautiful dough. Stop it, it's not baking. You have this wonderful, beautiful clay. Stick it in a baggie, and I use a Tupperware, so it's easily accessible. Don't let it sit out for more than 3 days. If you're going to use it for more than 3 days, I use it up in like a day and a half. But stick it in the fridge. It's good in the fridge for a week or two. And then if you're still not going to use it all, stick it in the freezer for another 6 weeks and you're good to go. And that's just because there's flour in it. And obviously flour can grow bacteria. So you want to make sure that you're not using moldy clay. Not only will it smell, it might be a good selling point. Here's my moldy toilet paper clay. But anyway, that's it. That's our clay. Make sure you wash everything very quickly. See how this dries on here? You want to get that off. If you don't get it off, it's going to become semi-permanent, because, this is the stuff that I make the ornaments out of. And it's hard as a rock. And it'll be really hard to get off. So there's the recipe. If you have any questions, ask away. And I'll see you next time.